ಹಾಯ್ ಸರ್.
ಹೇಗಿದ್ದೀರಿ?
ಆರಾಮಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಸರ್, ನೀವು?
ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ.
ಹಾ.
ಯುಗಾದಿದ್ದು ಶುಭಾಶಯಗಳು.
ನಿಮ್ಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಸರ್ ಯುಗಾದಿ ಹಬ್ಬದ ಶುಭಾಶಯಗಳು.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಇವತ್ತಿದ್ದು ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ ಅದೇ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ವಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಬಟ್ ಐ ಸಾ ಯುವರ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ವಸ್. ಐ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕಾನ್ವರ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ಲಿ ಮೋರ್ ಬ್ರಾಡ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾನು ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಬಟ್ ಐ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಯು ಟು ಥಿಂಕ್ ಲಿಟಲ್ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ಲಿ ವಿತ್ ವಾಟ್ ಯುರ್
ಓಕೆ.
ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್. ಅಂಡ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಪೊಸಿಷನಿಂಗ್, ನಿಮ್ದು ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಟೆಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್. ಮತ್ತೆ ಸಪೋಸ್ ನಾಳೆ ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ದು ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಏನಂತ ಯಾರಿಗಾದ್ರು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಮಾಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ವಿ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ಯುವರ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಅರ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್. ಸೊ ಇನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನೀವು ಯೂಸ್ ಕೇಸಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಬಿಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಸೊ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಫೌಂಡ್ ಅ ಯೂಸ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟೀ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ಸ್ ಆಸ್ ಅನ್ ಆಲ್ಟರ್ನೇಟಿವ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್. But let's again explore and see how we can position or how we can leverage what you're doing. Is that okay?
ಓಕೆ ಸರ್.
Okay. So before I get to that, I just want to know why did you choose tea bags? And then what did you see as an opportunity in this space? Because at the end of the day, you are actually focused on materials of the material and you just research ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ. So why did you end up in tea bags?
Sir, my major topic was food packaging. No, that is where we went on the objectives, where I have to produce based on the objectives, the PhD. So the last topic was the application of it. So one
Mm-hmm.
part was the dry material and the other part was food packaging. So dry packaging or the fresh green packaging was one of the option. So we tested for the greens and all. It was working, but the cost was more. So whatever the bags and the production as it is in a A4 sheet form. So we thought of going a small product that can go to the market. So not as a big the whole sheet as going. Why? Because we have to make the cost 50 or 100 like that based on the production. So we thought if we make an division of the sheet to different maybe 6 parts or 8 parts, so it would be working as a cost effective. So that is why we went for the smaller, and then we wanted to go for the food related to food. We went for the fragrance kit. So there was one coating for it, but there was the very what we say customer told that the fragrance was not staying longer.
ಅದು ನಾವು ಗಾಡಿದ್ದು ಅದು ನೀವು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್
Ah,
ಅಂತ ತೋರಿಸಿ.
ಹೌದು. So what we thought, unless limited period, we thought to limit the period as it is
Okay.
a very hygroscopic material, so air passes through very quickly. So that is where we changed that fragrance kit to the whatever it should be a single use. So we thought this could be the major position that we can bring. Why? Because there is no chemicals treated, and there is a purest form. We had a biotechnological background so that we can defend ourselves on the scientific matters. So that is where we placed.
Okay. So ಈಗ ನೀವು ಆ segment ಇಂದ you'll have to now start thinking about business, right? So I realized that. So okay, we will deep dive into what is the production cost, etc. But not for today's discussion. Today's discussion is just thinking out loud like that. So one of the things I was, even during your last discussions, etc., I was thinking is how can you think yourself as a biodegradable packaging material and
Hmm.
not as a specific use case of tea bags.
Okay.
So if you were to reposition yourselves as biodegradable
Ready.
packaging material, and because of I realized that you can make it out of any thickness, correct?
Correct. Correct.
And
Correct.
therefore your sturdiness, etc., can be increased or decreased.
Mm.
So and of course it is completely biodegradable, no microplastics, etc. So if we can think about any replacements of what is existing out there, then we can position this into a little higher premium. So I was looking at what and all premium segments manufacturing is there. So a couple of things that I could think of. One is your agricultural packaging.
Mm.
ಪಾಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೊಡುವಾಗ ನಾವು ತೊಟ್ಟೆ ಹಾಕಿ ಕೊಡ್ತೇವೆ.
ಹಾ ಹಾ
right? So if you can replace that with your packaging material, because it is sturdy, ನೀರ್ ಕೂಡ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಅಂತ problem ಬರುದಿಲ್ಲ, etc. People instead of using plastic, they can actually sew it and then leave it, forget it there itself. So it could be a good alternative for packaging material for exotic plants. Okay.
Ah.
And because they are talking about nature, plastic use ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು, etc. So that could be a good alternative. ಈ
Mm-hmm.
ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ ನೋಡಿ, ದೇರ್ ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯೂಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಟ್ರೈಂಗ್ ಟು ಮೇಕ್ ಇಟ್ ಸಸ್ಟೈನೇಬಲ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಕುಡ್ ಬಿ ಅ ಗುಡ್ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ, ರೈಟ್?
Okay.
So I was just looking into those kind of segments. Second is your cosmetic products.
Mm.
Most of your ನಿಮ್ದು soap ಎಲ್ಲ which is of a little higher margins, ಅಲ್ಲಿ you can today they are using plastic layer, ಅದು ಹೋಗುದಿಲ್ಲ. I mean, even if you decompose it, it becomes a problem. Those are places where you can replace it with your material. So
Mm.
what I'm basically trying to say is, if you start thinking in those lines, you are a packaging material, and therefore you can package it to any existing source which you can replace it with your packaging material. Okay.
Ah.
But you'll have to think about all those segments where people are willing to pay a premium. So usually the exotic alli alla bartade.
Mm.
People are very conscious about plastic alternatives, etc.
Mm. Okay.
ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಐ ವಾಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಥಿಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಲೈನ್ಸ್. ಇದು ಫುಡ್ ಪ್ಯಾಕೇಜಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಎಂತ ಪಾರ್ಸಲಿಗೆಲ್ಲ
Mm.
ಕಾಫಿ ಸಿಪ್, ಇದು ಕಾಫಿ ಸಿಪ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಅದ್ರ ಲಿಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುದು.
Ah.
So that's also high density material that you can design, which you can fit it on top of a cup. And that cup, everything else is paper based or less
Mm.
plastic, but the top is completely plastic. They don't have an alternative today because ಅದಷ್ಟು ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಿಡಿಯುವುದೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಷ್ಟ ಉಂಟು. So
Mm.
imagine if yours is thermal resistant also, if you can put that, that would be an interesting use case, right? So what I'm basically trying to say is, yours is a material
Mm.
which you can design for different properties. But now you have to think about what is that one or two use cases that you can print in hundreds, thousands on a day-to-day basis. You can take that contract, you can give it to a local manufacturer, and then you can build those things and deliver it to those large vendors.
Okay.
ಅರ್ಥ
Sir, I
ಆಯ್ತಾ?
would,
ಇವಾಗ
I got
yeah.
it, sir. Sir, one part what we observed was, there was what you told about the packing of the outer. As I said, the pores, I'll go through the steps, sir. As it is a
Hmm.
bacterial cellulose, the fibers are very thin in the nano form.
Hmm.
So what we are, it is a blending of the composite. So what we are doing, there will be a shedding and all those things. There is a pores that is in the nano form that can allow air to pass through it.
Hmm.
So there is only one way that all the guys of the paper is already doing are, they are coating or mixing the polyethylene, polypropylene, some other synthetic polymers into it, and they are making hydrophobic.
Hmm.
So that is a mixture, and again there is a biodegradable polymer PLA into the market. So this is also, it takes an industrial composing steps. It needs around 70 to 80 degrees of temperature.
Hmm.
So we thought if we go for those things, so we have to make a composite again using a synthetic polymer. We have tried it. We have tried it in our small laboratory, mixing up the PLA. So it stays, but what we think is, again it is a mixture. There is no uniqueness.
Hmm.
So the again we cannot get the compostability or the compost certificate or biodegradability. It needs industrial. So we thought of making that into a lesser steps. So without any treatment, without any mixing of those things, we needed that to be a biodegradable material. In
Got it.
Tetra Packs also, in Tetra Pak, we thought in a way that Tetra Pak, there is a cellulose layer, no sir. We thought it could replace, the cellulose could replace the Tetra Pak. But there are about 6 layers of polyethylene in that.
Hmm.
So again, it goes to, the market is large. But what we are making is, we had a vision of not to make another use of plastic
Hmm.
or mixing the plastic into it. So that is where we came into lesser, and we thought it's okay for marketing larger groups, but go with the smaller groups that really think that this material matters.
No, I
That's
agree.
it.
But my question is, so right now the material that you have, does it still allow air to pass, or you have figured out the hydrophobic part of it?
The hydrophobic part we have it, sir. We have that composition also, but as I said, it is nothing like it is patented or not. But there will be an hydrophobic component like silica, PLA, polyethylene in maybe around 2%, 3%. They'll mix it and they'll make it hydrophobic.
In your case, how is it?
It is the same, sir. We
So
have to go
you
for
say,
we have only alternative is the PLA, that is biodegradable. Polylactic acid is an alternative for
okay.
polyethylene and those things. But it needs, when we add polylactic acid, it needs industrial composting. So we need to have a SOP for degrading those things in maybe around 70 to 80 degrees.
That's okay. That's actually the manufacturing process, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So my point is, so from where you are right now,
Mm,
the first thing is, so you are, let's say, for example, if I'm talking in terms of technology readiness level, you are somewhere close to TRL 5,
mm.
right?
We have done
Now you are looking at use cases, which
mm,
you can test it with the larger masses.
large.
Okay. So one of the exercises that we need to think of is what is that use case? I'm not sure about tea bags yet.
Mm.
Okay.
Oh,
Now, if you are convinced that tea bags are the go-to, then we should definitely try. Okay.
mm,
But I'm assuming that you're okay with tea bag because of what your philosophy is, that you don't want to use even a single percentage
yes.
of plastic. So you're looking for that as an alternative. But I'm also thinking that what are the things that you can just do with that? For example, these shawarma rolls that are coming, right? Are you there? Chetan, you there? Chetan?
Yes, sir.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Okay. So her video is stuck.
Hello.
Yeah, yeah. So I was thinking, you know the shawarma rolls, right?
Mm,
So if the shawarma rolls use butter paper,
mm,
right? Now a lot of those kind of food rolls can the wrappers can be replaced by your material.
mm.
Now, if you look at, of course, the cost is something that we really
Cost is
look at. But I'm just saying, so if you look at that segment uses, thousands of wrappers just in our region. Okay. But all of that has got a thin layer of whatever you're saying right now, right? PLA. So I'm just saying, so you need to, so right now the exercise is to see what is that, one use case that we can think of. Okay. So that's what you should experiment right now before we go to the market and say, this is what we are doing and this is what our industry is focused on. So once you get a use case, then it becomes easier for you to, build more use cases on top of it because you will have people testing, giving you feedbacks, etc. Make sense?
the user used cases are the survey type of thing that is done, no, sir? Am I correct?
ಯಾವ್ದು ಹೇಳಿ?
Use cases. You told about use cases, no? The
ಹಾ,
meaning of use cases are the survey that we do or
ಇಲ್ಲ
the
ಇಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲ.
uh,
So okay. So let me break it down for you. So okay. So ಈಗ ನೀವು ಎಂತ ಮಾಡಿದೀರಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, so you have a solution.
mm, mm,
Okay. And you have built this solution because, clearly there is a need for packaging material
mm,
Okay. Now, when I say packaging material, anything that can be packaged,
Yeah.
okay, which can replaceable with plastics.
Mm.
That's the segment that you're going to look at. Okay.
Okay.
ಅದು ನೀವು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಸೊ
Mm.
ಈಗ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ದರ್ ಆರ್ ಸರ್ಟನ್ ಬೌಂಡ್ರಿ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್ ನೀವು ಫಿಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಎಂತ ಒಂದು ಇದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಏರೇಟೆಡ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ನೀವು ಅಂತ ಯೂಸ್ ಕೇಸಸ್ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ.
Mm.
ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್, ನೀವು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೈಯರ್ ಎಂಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ ನಿಮ್ದು. Okay, but I don't want to get deeper into the operations right now. But let's assume that it would cost you something. So, and perhaps ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ದು you know um, ಎಂತ tearability,
Mm. Mm. Strength, those things.
so tensile strength ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಗಿರ್ತದೆ, etc., etc. So there are so many features that you have. So I'll call these as features. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಇಸ್, ಈ ಫೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಗೆ ಸೂಟ್ ಆಗುವಂತದ್ದು ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಅಂತಂದು ನೋಡ್ತಿರ್ಲಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಸುಮಾರು ಫೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಉಂಟು, ಬಟ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟೀಸ್ ಉಂಟು. ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟೀಸ್ ಗೆ ಇದು ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಮೇ ಬಿ ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಅ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಇಂಟರ್ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್
Mm.
use cases. So only a
Okay.
small intersection of use cases your material might focus in. That's the segment that you will have to look at. Okay. So as an organization, you are a material manufacturing organization. That's
Mm.
what you are. So your whole organization will do research. One second. Your whole organization will do material research. Then you will have association with vendors, manufacturers. Okay.
Mm.
And
Mm.
then they will build packaging materials for that industry. So your vendors can be anybody like Zomato.
Mm.
They
Okay.
can be maybe all the coffee roasters or third wave coffee or Starbucks,
Mm.
right? You can have larger value chain who believe in sustainability, right? So so these are the kind of vendors that you'll have. So what would you do with the third wave? So third wave actually gives this cup, and then on top of it there is a lid. So this lid
Mm.
is
Mm.
actually plastic, right? So they want, they have been always wondering how to replace this plastic. So you can give them an alternative solution. So to give them an alternative solution, you can't give them a paper, right? You are telling basically, I will do those lids and give it to you. To give
Mm.
those lids, you are doing the material research. What does it mean? At 100 and maybe 90 degree, 94
Right.
degrees, there coffee is at. So at
Mm.
94 degrees, your material should not leak. Even if water, the coffee gets this one, it should not come over the surface. Then you should work around with the vendors, helping them design the dyes and then, the designs and all
Mm.
that. And you will
Okay.
manufacture it and give it to them. Right? So what these guys need, the third wave guys need is the coffee lid. They don't want your paper. So
Mm.
you are doing this vertical stacking. Okay, which means you will partner with certain vendors with
Mm.
whom you will work closely to manufacture your plastic alternatives. So you therefore become a packaging of replaceable plastic. So that's the industry that you're getting into. You're getting my point? So your brand association is like that. So today you have one material, but nothing stops you from building more materials tomorrow, isn't it?
Materials, correct.
More funding, with more exposure, with more partners, you might actually build it. And so therefore, your first exercise is to find this segment.
Okay.
So what I was giving as an example, so some of these examples were, let's say, for example, in exotic plants.
Mm.
Okay, so in exotic plants, the base, so the base here today is actually a plastic. So
Mm.
they will remove it and
Polygon.
then put it inside the mud land, right? So then
Mm.
they'll have to remove the plastic and they will dispose of the plastic. So maybe if they put your material, anyways it is aerated, right? So that they can directly dump it and then you can grow it from there, isn't it? Right? So that's a use case. So for all these nurseries, etc., you can tell them, why don't you use my material instead of these plastics? You don't have to remove the plastic. You just put it from here and
Put it.
shift it there, and then you can take it from there. So good nurseries can they become your customer? So I'm telling you, these are the use cases.
Correct. Okay.
Now the only way to think is these use cases should fulfill your criteria. Okay,
Mm.
willing to pay you a little premium on it. So therefore, you will have to think about which are those use cases. Make
Yes.
sense? Yeah. So now I'm saying that itself is your stage right now. Okay. So
Hmm.
don't worry much about how do I produce in scale and all that. First, figure out
Okay.
which is the industry that, sorry, wait, wait, wait.
Hmm.
So which is the industry that you are getting into,
Hmm.
where they would like to have you. Okay. Then I was thinking about certain other, like I said, food wrapping, cosmetics, especially the premium cosmetics where they want to brand themselves as alternative for plastics and all that. So those are all the places. Even
Hmm.
if you look at some packaging boxes, inside there will be again your plastic itself. So can you replace those things with because your strength is also there if you increase the density. So like that. So those are some of the things that I was talking about. Make sense?
Okay. Okay, sir.
So
I understand.
those are what we call it as use cases.
Use cases. Okay.
Now, when you are deciding use cases, I want you to think it in this format. One is the feature. Second one is the market size.
Feature. Okay.
Okay. Second one is the market size. So, which basically means if you choose, let's say, food wrappers
Hmm.
as the use case, okay, you will design food wrappers. What do food wrappers need? They need their brand association, so they want their logos and all in it.
Logos.
Yeah. So if you can do that, and then you can give them food wrappers, and they are saying that hey, you're also replacing their nature friendly, blah blah blah. Then you are seeing whether there is a chain.
Hmm.
So how many will they order from me? Maybe 1,000 sheets every day, 10,000 sheets in a month. What is the volume they can give you?
Hmm.
Okay, and how big is that industry? So
Okay.
that is the second aspect that you're supposed to look at. One is the feature, of course, that they
Hmm.
want your category, but second is the how big is the industry. Okay.
Hmm.
And third one, what is the paying capacity? Because you need margins. So you will look at paying capacity. So how much are they willing to pay? So the reason why I said tea bag is not an industry for you is because they're in tea bag. The biggest aspect is the tea powder,
Tea powder.
right? Not the packaging material then.
Hmm.
So if they are specifically focusing on preserving the flavor, etc., they will work more towards that. So I mean, if you looked at Lipton tea, which is from Tata, they have a packaging material plus they have the whole sealant that comes in the plastic. It's a plastic.
Aluminum.
Yeah. Is it aluminum only or is it plastic also?
It is a mixture, sir.
Correct.
Aluminum cannot
Say,
be heat sealed.
correct. So I'm thinking, therefore, so if that is the case, the biggest challenge over there is they wouldn't care much about micro getting released into the water, right?
Hmm.
Unless and until they are very worried about microplastics and all that. Otherwise, I don't know. Like, why would they tell themselves that we were earlier releasing microplastic? It is completely, what do you call it? The thought process itself will be wrong,
Hmm.
right? So every day you're consuming microplastic. So like that. So that's how you need to think. So will they spend more on that while the focus is more on the content? Okay. Again, I'm not saying they wouldn't do. I'm just saying unless and until the cost comes to that price of the
Hmm.
existing tea bag, they would not switch it.
Got
Okay?
it.
Unless and until it's a very premium. So if you go for kava,
Hmm.
so there are certain brands where they do the same dip, but the price of each tea bag is 50 rupees, 60 rupees.
Hmm.
Okay. That you can actually, there probably you can see it because they
Hmm.
would love to have this kind of a material, but they are willing to pay you premium because the customer segment that they are targeting is premium,
Okay.
and that can become a really good use case for them.
Okay.
Make sense?
Sir, I have one. What we are thinking. This is fine, sir. I'll take it into consideration. I'll do the use. Sorry.
Can you talk now?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. So what after what we had the discussion, previous meetings and all, we were thinking this is the market that we want to give, like maybe what you tell about giving in technology transfer and getting it to the vendors done, those things. But what we thought was the other part. This is the second plan. So there is a material with us. We will be taking in all the certification, and we will be taking FSSA certificate for the teas. There is already a certificate, FSSA certificate, that we can opt where we can put the tea inside and can be given to the market. So what we thought, we already have a material characterization on those things, but the market is not so big that I don't think we can enter as Tata or Lipton anything.
ಅಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ
This is the second.
ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ದು ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ,
Hmm.
ನೀವು ಟೀ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ ನೀವು ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಿಗೆ ಬರೋದಾದ್ರೆ, ನಿಮ್ದು ಕಾಂಪಿಟೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಟೀ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ,
Huh.
ರೈಟ್? ನಾವು ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ವೆಲ್ ಎಸ್ಟಾಬ್ಲಿಷ್ಡ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್. ಈಗ ನೀವು ಟೀ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಇದ್ದು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಉಂಟಾ?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can hear. Question is whether she can hear.
Okay.
ಕೇಳ್ತದ?
Sorry, sir. Correct.
ಹೊರಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ಸೊ ನೀವು ಟೀ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ಇದ್ದು ನೀವು ಎಂಟ್ರಿ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ, ದ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇಸ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಎಂಟ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಅ ಟೀ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ, ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾ? ಬಟ್ ನಿಮ್ದು ಫೋಕಸ್ ಇರೋದು ಪ್ಯಾಕೇಜಿಂಗ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಯು
Packaging.
ಇನ್ ದ ಪ್ಯಾಕೇಜಿಂಗ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ. ಓಕೆ,
Hmm.
ಸೊ ನಿಮ್ದು ಯೂಸ್ ಕೇಸಸ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಉಂಟು, ಈ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾನು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಾನು ನನ್ನ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಯು ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಮೈ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್? So today you
Yeah.
are thinking about packaging material, but tomorrow I'm assuming that the same thing can be used for many other purposes which I don't know today, right?
Hmm.
So therefore, your biggest exercise right now would be to figure out use cases and also find vendors parallelly. Okay, so
Okay.
let me give an example. So let's say somebody is doing corrugated materials iddu manufacturing ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರರ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಮಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲೇ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, and there is a large ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಇದೊಂದು ಇದು ಸೆಟಪ್ ಬರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕೂಡ ಉಂಟು. So now if you look at any of these vendors, ಯಾರು ಪ್ಯಾಕೇಜಿಂಗ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಇವತ್ತು ಮಾಡಿ ಮಾರ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಬಾಕ್ಸಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಮಾರ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, just talk to them and tell, I have got material which is biodegradable, right? Is there any vendor is there any client of yours who is looking for alternate for plastic? Okay, and I can give you, so vendors will be more than happy. The reason is, ನಾಳೆ ವೆಂಡರ್ಸ್ ನವರಿಗೆ ಕೂಡ ಅವರ ಕ್ಲೈಂಟಿಗೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕೂಡ ಹೊಸ ಹೊಸ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಇಂಥದ್ದು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕೂಡ ಬೇಕು. ಇಲ್ಲದಿದ್ರೆ ಹೌ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ದೇ ರೀಚ್ ಔಟ್ ಟು ಮೋರ್ ಕಸ್ಟಮರ್ಸ್? ಸೊ ದೇ ಆರ್ ವಿಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಇನ್ಫ್ರಾಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ so that they can also produce biodegradable packaging materials. Isn't it? So
correct,
it's
sir.
an interesting use case for them. Iga, let's say for example, Zomato liga many restaurants are selling their food, right? So adu ಒಂದು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲೇಟ್ ಇದು ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಫುಡ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಾಕಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, right?
Food.
Now it's a complete plastic material. Can it be replaced by your material? Right? Now imagine if it is replaceable. Maybe you don't have the material today, or maybe you are going to experiment on it tomorrow. But whoever is making that plastic material, right, can now do this material and give it to them, and he would be the only vendor who has a biodegradable material, and therefore many restaurants might start using it, right? So,
Sir, I got one.
hey,
Yes, I got one idea. Sir, blueberry and those things are costly, no, sir. If you propose for Zomato, like this material can be an why? Because it is a moisture, it is an aeration process that will be going on as the material property. If you propose for the Zomato for the alternative for the why? Because they'll do it in plastic, no, sir. It will be having holes in it
very interesting.
for the
You mean to say
blueberry,
Blinkit?
exotic fruits.
Blinkit.
Ah, ah,
Perfect. Perfect. Right? So again, Blinkit is very particular about packaging material, right? So exactly, that's what I'm trying to say. So start thinking about those use cases, and then
mm-hmm.
your job is to, so see, the moment you go to Blinkit, they will talk about scale. Okay, they will tell,
Okay,
can you
correct.
manufacture 10,000 units? Right?
Mm-hmm.
You are not coming from the manufacturing background, so you don't want to get into this headache of where to source the material from, etc. So you will have to do a technology transfer to the vendors, and the vendors should be able to manufacture it for you and give it to the Blinkit. So what you are bringing to the table is this whole science and then use cases. Okay, because your vendor is not going to sit and think about use cases. Right? So the manufacturing person, the vendor that I'm talking to, so that person is not going to think about use cases, or he might be limited with his use cases because he has always been doing plastic and stuff, and he has already invested on it, right? So you will have to think about a use case which is large enough that your vendor will also be interested in using your technology, and he will pay your royalty for every box that is selling. You getting my
Okay.
point? Right? So
Yes,
that's
sir.
the linkage that you need to bring into this your company. So that's what I'm saying. So what I would suggest doing is any of these high volume. Okay, so I said market size here. So the other word is high volume. Anything that has to be manufactured in high volume use case, those are the things that you should experiment on today. So how can your material be used in those high volume commodities? Okay, and go for a little exotic things because they would not mind paying some extra money on packaging material there.
Okay.
You got my point, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
that's how I would reposition your whole organization. Okay, and I would rethink from building a product to building material, packaging material, and partnership with vendors so that you can build use cases which can be given to different industries, replacing plastic.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when I went through your strategy canvas, I realized that you're still focusing on
It's
a specific use case, but I wanted you to start thinking about this one. Okay, now again, there are so many things I can discuss on, but I realized that because you are in the early stage, you would not have a clarity on cost, so therefore you cannot discuss on competitive advantage. Right? So, okay, let's put it this way. If I were to put a strategy canvas here, so, and if I were to think about different value drivers, okay, what your customers will think of value. Now, first value is the cost itself. Right? So, if you are talking about biodegradable plastics and any alternative that are existing today, maybe there are other biodegradable materials, plus plastic is also an a competitor in your space. So this is let's say your product. So let's say, for example, today you might be priced higher, and plastic is of course very cheap, and then biodegradable is somewhere in between. Okay, so let's say I would give this as 3, but your cost is around 5, and plastic is somewhere, let's say 1. Okay, so the obvious question is, if you might bring it down to 4, but definitely you can't bring it down to 3 or maybe lesser than that. Okay, so you might be priced somewhere very close to other bio alternatives,
Mm.
Okay, but definitely not to the plastics level. If you can bring it to the plastic level, nothing like it. Now that is an innovation that you're bringing in. If you can bring, if your packaging material is of the same cost as the plastic, and it can be scaled because your supply of raw materials are abundant, then nothing. See, plastic is, the raw material comes from crude oil, right? Right.
Crude
So
oil, correct.
yours is coming as a bacteria, right? So which means cultivation,
Yes.
culturing of it requires different kind of a space and all that. So I'm not sure what is the supply of this one, how much of a supply of this can be there, right? So which means you're not competing in the plastic space at all. What, therefore, you are not really worried much about the cost here because you're not competing in this space. And this is what majority of the organizations do as a mistake. Okay, they are trying to replace plastic in single use cases and everything. Don't try to compete in that space. I don't see much benefits there, and your margins will be very small. Think of a category where you can't use plastics and you have to use a plastic packaging material, but you can't use plastics. Okay, so that's the space that you need to start thinking about. Okay. So in such cases, you have to, what is that you are going to create? Okay. What is that you're going to raise in that segment? Okay. That's what when compared to your competitor, that's what you're going to define. So I will not do it now because I still don't know what that use case is. Okay. Now to do that is where we discussed about that 6 stages that we spoke about last time, right? So one, you can find alternative industries. Okay, so you can start with saying what packaging materials are used in different use cases today where plastic cannot be used. Start like that. So start with search in Google, etc. Just start with saying look out for industries where plastic cannot be used. Okay, that's an alternative industry, and there you can find a use case for yourself.
Okay.
You got my point?
Got it, sir.
Yeah. So, for example, sweets, packaging of sweets, it's very sticky, greasy. But can it be replaced with, if you use plastic, it is sticky and greasy, but can it be replaced with yours? Right? So that's how I would start thinking. So what can be an alternative industry? And again, don't think only about food. Alternative industry is in biomedical also. Right? Agents that should not be kept in contact with plastic. Right? So, but the only alternative for them would be glass or anything else. But can your material be an alternative? So let's take an example. Again, this is not a realistic example. So imagine there is a medical equipment which should not be wrapped in plastic, let's say. Okay. So the alternative is some material that they have crafted, which costs, let's say, 50 rupees per square feet. Okay. Whereas what you have done is, a good material which costs 10 rupees per square feet. Okay. And it can be used for this also. Now that's a segment that you can disrupt. Okay. Now identifying such things is your job. Okay. So therefore, imagine if I were to think about this use case, then I will start saying, what can I raise as a value to my customer? So then you will say, what does this material do today, which you will either eliminate or reduce, and I will raise the bar of quality value that you are offering, and you will create a new segment you will create some new offerings in it. Okay, because of certain features that your product has. So that is what this strategy canvas will do. Okay. So that's how you should start thinking in alternative industry. So you have been conditioned to think because of your PhD now. But I want you to start thinking about alternative industry, or again, within food industry, if you want to focus on, you can think about food industry, but within food industry, which is the group within the food industry? What is a cluster within the food industry where you want to eliminate plastics?
Mm.
And who is consuming this? So which category of customers would like to have completely, a restaurant which is completely plastic free? So can you target that segment? So they might be, looking for this kind of a material. So that's how you start thinking. A food chain that is very conscious about not using plastic. Okay, so that is an industry that you look into. And what is the material that they are using today, and how can you substitute it?
Okay.
So by doing this exercise, you're finding a blue ocean. Okay, what do you mean by blue ocean? It's a segment that nobody's competing today. It's a very niche segment that is okay, but you are going to be the biggest player in that segment. Okay, so then you will create a market for yourself in that segment before somebody else can come. Make sense? Say, for example, export is an industry. Export to European countries is an industry. Okay. Now, there are a lot of things that get exported to Europe and other countries. Now, is there a segment in that export where you can use your material for packaging? So thereby reducing the plastic content, which means you are increasing the carbon credits or decreasing the carbon footprint. Okay. Now, this one, for a vendor who is selling from India to or exporting something from India to Europe, might find this as an attractive proposition. So he might be willing to pay you 5 rupees for the packaging material. Right? So because he will earn more credits out of it, and exports, they usually have margins. So, and that could be a good selling point for them to export into European market. That zero plastic, used. Right? So that's how, I'm talking about thinking. Make sense?
Yes,
right?
sir.
So find out blue ocean first. Which industry do you want to target where you know that it's a large volume, they are willing to pay you, higher prices, and it fits the features that you're talking about. Okay, so you can find an alternative industry. Within your industry, you can find alternative groups, or find out people who are very emotional about not using plastic. Like I said, restaurant chains which do not want to use plastic at all, or exports where the importing country does not want to use plastics. These are all bonuses. Okay, so your first exercise is finding that. That's what you should do right now. Okay, once you're done that, then it becomes easier for us to recalibrate on your strategy canvas. How do you do competitor positioning? If there is already a competitor in that space, how do we position you to make sure that you become the alternative? That's the exercise that we will do next. Okay, so that's
Okay,
that it's a lesson for today. Good.
I'll come back with whatever you told. I'll brush it up. I'll come back, sir. I'll come back with those things.
Yeah. Good. Any questions?
Thank you so much.
Okay. So this part is clear today. Was it useful today? This conversation?
Yes, sir. It was very useful.
Okay. Good. Chalo. That's it. All the best.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
So Chandrika, 1 second. This conversation is recorded. She can, my team will send you the video recording as well. So you can go back to this video recording, and then any segment that you have missed also, you can learn from it. Okay. Maybe you can also share it with your co-founder.
I will ask. Thank you, sir.